coming to you from the My Little Falls studio here in beautiful Little Falls, New York. It's your host, Scott Kinville, and another episode of Marty's Illegal Stick.
And welcome to episode number 20 of Marty's Illegal Stick, recorded on April 7th, 2021. Can't believe we made it to 20, guys. This is great. This is really great. And you know what? It's nice to be back. Everybody's ready to go and everybody's healthy again, so we can rock and roll with some more Marty's Illegal Stick. So we've got a really cool guest on for us tonight. We're going to be talking about a certain rivalry down in the Big Apple area. But before we get going to that, I want to bring in our panel. First of all, Mr. Leo Kinville. Leo,
hello, Scott. Glad to be back tonight. You give me a great job. I worked for an hour last week or a week before last, and I got a week off. What a great job.
Hey, you know, I try to help any way I can, you know. So anyways, up next, a returning co-host, if you will. If you had him on before, he is the doctor of hockey, Keith Lovatino. Keith, how you doing?
Oh, thanks for that nice introduction. Doing really good. I'll tell you, I'm doing good because you know you got a good hockey team when the hockey trade deadline is coming and you're going to be a buyer instead of a seller. That's a good thing. So,
well, you hope anyway.
Hopefully. It's not worrying about what draft pick we're going to get.
Well, that's right. Well, or no, what draft pick you're going to be giving away.
Correct.
Oh, and up next, he's coming to us from his car right now. So we got a mobile show making his return appearance, Mr. Jeremy Roberts. Jeremy, how's it going?
Great. How are you?
I'm good. Heading to the rink, right?
Oh yeah. I got to play in about an hour.
And everybody, just so you know, this is pickup, so it's not our league game, and they lost without me last week, by the way. So I don't feel so bad anymore.
But we did score more goals.
Well, it's okay. You still lost. You can't blame me this time. Oh, man. All right. So without further ado, I want to bring our guest in. This gentleman wrote a book a while back. It's called Ice Wars, the complete story of New York's greatest modern sports rivalry. Here it is, a picture right there. Mr. Gil Martin. Gil, thanks for coming on. Appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for having me. Great to be here.
This is really cool. So tell us, is this the first book you've written, or is there more? Or
it's the first book I've written, and for me, it was just a real labor of love. This rivalry was sort of my introduction to hockey growing up, and it was sort of the centerpiece of it. And I wanted to share that history and the memories, and to me, the most fun of this was doing the research and interviewing a lot of the former players and broadcasters and coaches who were all a part of it. And it was just really exciting to share those memories.
Well, I'll tell you picked a heck of a rivalry to talk about. That's for sure. So with the research, how long did that take you?
From start to finish, about 3 years.
Wow. Oh, wow. No kidding. Yeah, because I know you interviewed almost 7,500 players and coaches. Is that correct? Or
in the 50s, I think, somewhere by the time it was all said and done. And then a lot of the other quotes were done, via research from old newspapers, magazines, game programs, any, television interviews, YouTube, anywhere I could find more information, more quotes. And then when I spoke to the players and the broadcasters, that was more to get behind the scenes stuff.
Oh, okay. Nice. Oh, that's something though. I mean, was there any particular memorable interviews you had, or?
There were a bunch of them, but one funny story that really kind of stuck out in my mind. I started watching this rivalry when it started, and I was very young at the time. And you get so passionate as a kid about your teams, and the other team is the enemy, and all of that stuff. And yet, I was speaking to Nick Vitiu and Bobby Nystrom, and they both confirmed this story to me. They had a number of fights on the ice. They met each other in the playoffs so many times, in the late 70s, early 80s. And yet when Bobby Nystrom was in the hospital and needed surgery, who comes to visit him? Nick Vitiu, and he brought him cookies. And so it's like, the cookies. I'm like, he did what?
Were they Ranger cookies?
That I didn't have a flavor or what like, but
Oh, that's funny. That is really funny. So anything particular surprise you during your research about what you found out?
I think what surprised me a little bit, and again, the difference of perspective of growing up as a kid watching the rivalry, and then hearing from the players themselves, yeah, the rivalry was intense. These teams did not like each other on the ice, but off the ice, the respect level was also off the charts. And these guys, when the game was over, yeah, they still held a little bit of a grudge, as far as the game was concerned, but off the ice, they respected each other a great deal. And they got along really, really well. And you don't necessarily expect that when you think back to some of the things you saw happening on the ice.
Sure. And, what people don't realize is that it's actually the Rangers that kind of helped the Islanders get into the league.
Yeah.
Because of the WHA.
Yeah, it is something that not a lot of people remember. I did mention it in the book that, the WHA wanted to put a team in the Nassau Coliseum, and the NHL said, no, we don't want that. It's a new building at the time, 1972. And so they put the Islanders there and the Atlanta Flames. They both came into the league that year. And the New York entry in the WHA ended up at Madison Square Garden, but they ended up playing the worst possible dates and times. They would play a home game Thursday at 1:00 in the afternoon.
Right.
And they only lasted one season and then maybe 10, 15 games in the next season. First, they were the New York Raiders. And then the following year, the New York Golden Blades. Neither team did particularly well. And then they moved. So that was it for the WHA in New York.
Yeah, because when they were at MSG, they had to go right behind the elephant after the circus, correct? So one of our co-hosts, Keith, you'll see him right there in the top corner there. He actually grew up down in that area and watched Nassau Coliseum be built.
Oh, wow. Very nice.
Yeah, I had so I lived in East Meadow, Uniondale.
Yep.
And growing up before we moved upstate. And my grandfather, who lived in Flushing, would take me out and over to Eisenhower Park. And then when they started building the Coliseum, being, whatever, 5, 6, 7, 8 years old at the time, he would take me over to the parking lot and we'd literally watch it being built. I loved it because it was construction. It had nothing to do with hockey, obviously, at that moment or whatever. But I actually, didn't I send you, Scotty, a picture?
Yes.
That I had there was a really antiquated sign. It was Nassau County Coliseum. Remember that sign? And there was a crane in the background. And, the Coliseum was half done in the background in the picture and everything. But to this day, I just remember it and it's a shame where we are today and how it turned out. But I guess that happens to all buildings. But so, yeah, fond memories growing up in that area and becoming a lifelong Islander fan because of that, watching the Coliseum being built. I'll tell you, it was a great place to watch a game.
Yeah.
I mean, today's standards, obviously not, but 16,000 people made a lot of noise in that place.
Yeah, and the sight lines were great. And there was not a bad seat in the Coliseum. And the way the roof was sort of constructed, it made the noise stay in. So you really, 14, 15, 16,000 people could really, really make a lot of noise. And I remember when I interviewed Glenn Healy for the book, and he played for both the Islanders and then the Rangers. And he said the first time he was in the locker room at the Coliseum before a Ranger-Islander game, they were just going out for pregame warm-ups. It wasn't even like, the actual game yet. And he felt the building shaking, and he was like, what's going on? Is something wrong? And they said, no, it's the crowd. It's the Rangers. They just expect this. And that was his introduction to the rivalry.
Yeah.
Well, it's, like I said earlier, it's just been such a great rivalry throughout the years too. And that's what makes it so special is that, the Islanders had the highs and then they had the lows when the Rangers came up and had the highs and the lows. And now it's nice to see that they're both, obviously the Islanders are on the rise and the Rangers are actually looking like within a year or two, they're going to be a perennial contender. So it's nice,
It is. The rivalry works best when both teams are at their best.
Right.
Think about that period between like 1975 and 1985, which I think was the height of the rivalry's intensity. And they met in the playoffs in 75, 79, 81, 82, 83, 84. When you're meeting in the playoffs that often, you're in the same division, you're in the same town, the intensity really ratchets up a notch.
Oh, absolutely. There's absolutely no doubt about that. So any particular favorite memories you have from the rivalry?
Wow.
Kind of a broad question there.
You know, I this way though. If I had to pinpoint one game that I think was the best game in the rivalry, it was the 1984 playoffs. It was the preliminary
Yes.
round, that game 5.
Yes.
Time and series, but what an intense series. The Rangers were up 2-1, looked like they were going to close out the Islanders dynasty. Barry Beck, their captain and big talented defenseman, got hurt. He was out for games 4 and 5. You know, Don Maloney, the Rangers were down a goal. Don Maloney scores a controversial goal in the final minute to send the game to overtime. If you can go back onto YouTube and watch that overtime, it's like 7 or 8 minutes of the best quality hockey you're going to see. And then of all people to end it with all the Hall of Famers out there on the ice and all the great goal scorers, of all the people to get that game-winning goal, Ken Morrow, who probably scored 2 or 3 goals a year, but always seemed to come up big in clutch come playoff time, got that goal. And, you know, I spoke to Ken, I spoke to Don Maloney, and some of the stories they told me about what happened before and during that game was just great. It was really great stuff.
Oh, it's incredible. I mean, we actually a couple weeks ago we had Tom Laidlaw on.
Yeah,
and
Tommy too. He's a great guy.
Fantastic guy, and he said himself too. He goes, you know, playing for the Rangers, obviously they hated the Islanders, but they respected the heck out of them.
Yep.
You know, and I'm sure that it was vice versa too. You know,
absolutely. And that was part of the beauty of it. You know, it's almost like, you know, in hockey, there's that code for enforcers, and they'll go at it toe to toe, and afterwards, you know, they'll both be bloodied, but they'll give each other a little pat on the rear end, and then head to the respective penalty boxes. It's like that. While you're battling with them, you go all out, you give everything you've got, but at the end, respect, absolutely respect.
Absolutely. And, you know, I tell you, it's the rivalry doesn't just extend to on the ice. It's off the ice. And I'll tell you why, because I got to tell you, one of my favorite excerpts from this book is pretty much right in the beginning. Okay. It's on page 18. It's where Eddie Westfall and Jig McDonald, Jig was going to MSG for the first time. And he was talking about how, you know, Eddie told him, like, listen, we got to get there really early. And Jig said, well, he goes, you know, I don't normally like to get there early anyway. But he was talking about getting there before the fans even got there. And then how they would have to be escorted out of the building afterwards. It's like, now that is a hockey rivalry right there. It doesn't get any better than that. Yeah. Thank God nobody got hurt, you know. But
the broadcaster, I mean, yeah.
So yeah. Anyways, we do have a kind of a mutual friend, I guess you could say, Brendan Burke, who's the current play-by-play announcer for MSG for the Islanders. Actually was up here before he came down there. He's Utica Comets play-by-play for the radio, and another fantastic guy.
Yep, absolutely, and a very good caster as well.
Oh, absolutely, so smooth and just a complete professional, you know. And of course his partner Butch Goring, who we had talked about before, because we have a mutual respect for our teams, I guess you could say. I told you I'm an LA Kings fan, and I think any LA Kings fan likes Butch Goring, and, like, you know, was happy for him to see him, you know, get his cups with the Islanders and all that. So
Butch was great on the Kings too. I mean, you think about some of the centers that they had with Butch, Marcel Dion, and Whitey Whiting. I mean, they had some very talented players back in the 70s. But I always think about Butch in LA, that big overtime goal he scored against the Bruins in the playoffs.
Yes.
So that was just a magic, probably one of the best moments in the first decade of Kings hockey.
Absolutely. And, you know, and of course it was in those sweet gold and form blue uniforms too.
I love those uniforms. I saw a game at the Forum the last year they were using those uniforms, right before Gretzky got there. Fun.
Yeah, that's, well, and, you know, I always thought they should at least have 1 year with Wayne in those.
Yeah.
You know? That would have been nice. But, I mean, I guess I can see why they did it, because with him arriving, you had to have, I guess, a fresh start. But, you know, it is what it is, I guess. Yep. But I gotta ask you, you know, and I know you're an Islanders fan, so you had to have been thrilled when they moved back to the Coliseum from the Barclays Center.
Yeah, I was, and it wasn't that I have anything against Brooklyn or the Barclays Center, but it's just inconvenient to get to, because you could take the train in, but then taking the train back to Long Island, you got to change at Jamaica. 2 hours. You could wait an hour at the platform for the transfer thing. And if you're driving in, you fight rush hour traffic. If you're taking the train in, you have to wait after the game. So it was just, I was used to getting to the Coliseum in 15 minutes, so
Sure.
20 minutes tops. And then going to Brooklyn would take an hour and a half, 2 hours. It was certainly less convenient. But look, I'm happy that they are moving to a new location closer to Long Island, over near Belmont, and that should be exciting. Also, I would have preferred for them to be able to stay in Uniondale and renovate or build a new Coliseum, but that really never happened.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that too, because I mean, that's got to be kind of a bittersweet kind of thing for Islanders fans, I would imagine.
Yeah, I mean, the Coliseum, so many great memories. And, you always hear people say, oh, it's a dump, it's old, it's dilapidated. But from an Islander fan perspective, it's our dump. And
Right.
you have the great sight line. To me, it's a no-frills place to watch a hockey game by modern standards. But if you just want to watch the game, the sight lines are great, the noise is great. You feel like you're right on top of everything. Yeah, the bathroom lines are ridiculous. The courtyards outside, you can't walk. It's too crowded. The food choices are limited. But at the same time, it's home, and it's so much great tradition. And the actual watching of the game part is great. And you got tailgating before the game. A lot of good traditions there.
Yeah, and that's it's always one of those, we talked about this over and over again, but I mean, these brand new arenas are beautiful, every single amenity you could possibly want, but to me the charm is gone.
Yeah, the older arenas did have more personality, for lack of a better way to put it. They just, each one was a little distinct. It had their little quirks. I mean, the Boston Garden and the Chicago Stadium had smaller dimensions and less room at center ice. And, the old buildings had more personality to them. But look, something's gained and something's lost, I guess, with each kind of progress.
Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So do you still have any contact with any of the players or broadcasters or coaches or anything? Or
I mean, yeah, I'm still in touch with a number of people, not as often as I was when I was doing the book, but
sure.
Yeah, and with COVID, it's hard to see people anymore and in person. But yeah, I mean, anytime I can, I'm looking forward, let's put it this way, to getting back to the rink and being able to see people more frequently again.
Oh, absolutely. And, Keith and I already said that as soon as next season gets here and there's a Kings game down at UBS, we're going. So maybe we'll meet you there for a game.
I'd love it.
You guys got to take it easy on me, though, because it'll be a 2-on-1 and it won't be fair.
You got to wear the jersey, though. Wear one of the original gold ones now,
Yeah, there you go, right?
Nobody would know what it is.
that might work out a lot better for me, actually. So what are we seeing? Keith was talking about it earlier, but the trade deadline. What do you think they're going to do?
I think, look, the Islanders are going to be buyers. They were probably going to be buyers before Anders Lee got hurt. But after the injury, they kind of have to be buyers. Mm-hmm. They were a team that struggled to score enough goals before the injury. And now without Anders Lee, it's even more of a struggle. They're good enough to make the playoffs now. They're good enough to beat anybody on any given night. But if they really want to be bona fide Stanley Cup contenders, they've got to add a top 6 forward at the deadline.
Yeah, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. Well, Lou Lamoriello was really good at pulling those rabbits out of the hat. So we'll see what he does
last year. That's for sure. I mean, Joe and Green couldn't have asked for more help, than that. And the fact that he was able to sign Pajot to an extension right after the trade, that made the deal a little bit more worthwhile. If it was just for a rental player, they way overpaid. But the fact that Pajot is A, staying, and B, playing so well makes a big difference.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, that's, and then that's what makes playoffs so fun. You never know that one guy can come in and change everything. So we'll be keeping our eyes peeled on the 12th. So anyways, Gil, where can we get this book? I know I got mine on Amazon, but is there anywhere else or?
Yeah, no, Amazon is probably the best place to get the book. And it's it's Ice Wars. It covers every season in the history of the Rangers Islanders rivalry from the beginning till just a couple of years ago. And, you know, it was a labor of love. It's really a history of both teams and of the rivalry and some great moments and great players.
Well, I love how it's broken down season by season, and there's the profiles in between as well. Keith, you had an interesting comment about the James Patrick one, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean, I just had it briefly, and Scott loaned it to me, and he's going to give it back to me when we're done, hopefully tomorrow, Scott. But I was scouting through it, yeah, and what I found interesting about it, there's like players you hear about, but you really don't pay attention to. So I was actually reading his bio, and I found it actually quite interesting, a lot to offer from him.
You know, he got overlooked, I guess, in part because, you know, he was overshadowed later by Brian Leach. And but at the same time, James Patrick, a consistent, steady, good offensive, played for the Rangers for a long time, and then went on to become an assistant coach for a number of NHL teams, including Buffalo. Nice guy. I met him a couple of times, you know, in the press box, and yeah, I mean, just you know, played for the Olympics. Just gets overlooked a lot, but if you watched him play game in and game out, also a very good player.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. He was so steady. He was one of those guys that was never going to hurt you. Exactly. As far as making a mistake, you know?
Yep. Never going to hurt you, never going to make a mistake. And every once in a while, he'd drop your jaw because he made a pass or a play that was just unexpected and really, really pretty as well. Oh,
absolutely. Absolutely. Well, hey, Gil, this has been a lot of fun. We appreciate it.
Hey, I appreciate you having me, and anytime. It's a lot of fun.
Absolutely. And like I said, you can go on to Amazon.com. I think Barnes & Noble I saw it on as well.
Yes.
Ice Wars. So if you ever want to read just a great, fun read about a season-by-season breakdown of one of the greatest rivalries in sports, this is the book for you. I'm going to pull it up one more time just so you can see the picture. And there you go. That's the book. All right. Well, Gil, thanks a million. Appreciate it. And listen, great luck for the rest of the season. And once this next schedule comes out, I'll get a hold of you, and maybe we'll all meet down at UBS.
Sounds good. Thanks a lot, guys.
All right, Gil. Thanks. Appreciate it. All right, everybody. That was Gil Martin, author of Ice Wars, the complete story of New York's greatest modern sports rivalry. It's a heck of a book. It's a lot of fun. So anyways, we're going to end this segment with, as we always do, your favorite breakaway trivia. And in keeping with the theme of breakaway trivia, or the theme of tonight, actually, I should say, the Rangers-Islanders rivalry. But before we do that, breakaway trivia is brought to you this week by True Grit Life from our buddy Tom Laidlaw. If you get a chance to check out Tom's YouTube show on Thursday afternoons, do it. It's hilarious. He's got Ron Greshner, Don Maloney's on there. He brings up some of his old buddies that he played with, and it's funny. They just sit there and they just talk about random things for about an hour, and it's hilarious. It is great. So
it is 100%. You'll laugh. Just listening to him.
Exactly. It's like sitting around at a diner listening to guys trade stories.
Yes.
You know, it really is. So if you get a chance, check that out. But in the meantime, here is our breakaway trivia question. Who is the only player to have won the Stanley Cup with both the New York Islanders and the New York Rangers? The answer when we come back.
Visit My Little Falls and stay connected with the latest news, information, and events in the city. Our mission is to generate interest in the community and connect residents in a more meaningful way by facilitating deeper conversations about how these stories will shape the future of Little Falls, New York. Join thousands of weekly visitors who stay up to date with feature stories, interviews, videos, and our events calendar. It's about timely local news for the community, keeping citizens informed about important issues, telling stories about the people who live and work here, and giving locally owned businesses the opportunity to reach a very targeted audience of local residents and tourists alike. It's a whole new form of media-rich content developed specifically for today's mobile lifestyle and listeners. You can download our iOS app in the iTunes store or sign up for our weekly newsletter. Stop by today at mylittlefalls.com. You'll be glad you did.
And welcome back to segment 2. That was one of the funniest things I've seen in a while. That was great. I know you probably couldn't see that during the break, but we almost had a cell phone go against the wall. So,
well, that Google is not what they're.
Oh, it's G-O-O-G-L.
I know. I got it on there, and I tried to cheat, and I can't even do that.
We should have told you how to cheat at cheating.
I'm good at it back in school, but
Oh, well, here, I'll give you the question one more time so you can
I
think
know
about it.
I
All
got
right.
the question. But
So, who is the only player to have won the Stanley Cup with both the New York Islanders and the New York Rangers? I'll even give you a hint, like I did at the house.
I know that back in the 70s.
No, it wasn't back in the 70s. No,
Oh, I know.
it was this player was traded to the Rangers from Chicago.
Mhm.
So,
Oh,
well, I'm going to throw a name out there.
Oh.
Go ahead. Leo.
I can't remember. I'm
right.
racking my brains out trying. I have no idea.
Pick one from the 94 team.
From the 94 team. I don't know. Just give me the answer. Get it done with.
All right, so you know what?
20.
We'll go to Keith first, because he looks like Horseshack over there trying to get a hold of Mr. Cotter's attention. Mr. Cotter, I got the answer.
I was hoping you'd say Vinny Barbarino because
Well, as soon as you say it, I'm going to remember it.
yeah, right. I'll take a shot. Greg Gilbert.
Wow, he got it.
Did I?
Yeah,
There you go.
Greg Gilbert.
Jeremy, I didn't even bother to ask you. Did you know?
I don't even know if it would be even anywhere close. I was just going to say Tony Amani.
No, it was Greg Gilbert. Wow, he won in 82 and 83 with the Islanders, and then 94 with the Rangers.
Greg Gilbert.
And I only remember that because I remember him getting traded from Chicago.
Oh, so it was the hint.
Yeah.
Ah,
No,
well,
no, I knew that before you.
okay, just checking. Just checking, making sure.
Yeah. I knew that.
Yeah.
0-20.
You got the greatest street sports right now,
Boy.
pal. Oh, that's awesome. So let's get on with hot takes. First of all, I want to take a moment to remember the tragic bus accident that took the lives of 16 Humboldt Broncos players 3 years ago on April 6th. Still just a tragedy, no matter how you look at it and think about it. It's just terrible. So just want to take a moment to remember those players and their families. Keep it in our prayers. All right, up next, Jeremy, we got some bad news about our Utica College Pioneers.
Yeah,
What happened?
unfortunately. Our season came to an end Saturday night. We still set some records. It did go to 3 overtimes.
Wow.
I think it became the fourth longest game in D3 history, I believe. I don't know if it's D3 history, if it was playoff history or something like that. It is the longest game in Utica College history. But unfortunately, we came 1 goal short. The boys played tough. They hung in there. Elmira scored first. We scored second, and it was tied all the way up until that third overtime. And it was, it's Elmira. It's our rival. We don't always have problems with them, but they always like to come hard when it matters. It was as soon as I saw them, as soon as I knew that we were going to face them in the playoffs, and seeing how we did, the week beforehand and played them, I knew it was going to be a completely different team.
Yeah. And that's the thing too. Especially once you get into overtime situations, anything can happen.
Yeah. I was texting with a lot of my friends and, a couple of parents of the players, and they were all like, Gary's got to be losing his head. He's got to be, he's got to be yelling at the boys. And I go, honestly, at this point, you're going into the second overtime, now it's going to go into the third overtime. At this point, there's nothing really to be said. Yeah. They know what they got to do. It's hydrate right now in the locker room and, get your mind ready for another, period of hockey. Let's go out and get the goal. Unfortunately, it didn't happen, but, in a year where they weren't sure if we were even going to play hockey, that's a positive side that we did get on the ice. It didn't end in the way we wanted to, but, they did get the chance to play, and they went as far as they could. Now it's on to next season.
Absolutely. And they got nothing to hang their heads about or nothing.
No,
it was
no, not at all.
They're still a fantastic team, still a fantastic program, and hopefully, next season everything will be back to normal. And
next season, you got to remember that these guys ran with a roster that really wasn't full.
Right.
I believe we ran with 11 forwards and 6D.
Because some of their players were still in Europe and all that, right?
Some of their players were in Europe. A few of them didn't come back, but all those players do have the option to come back to play. Even the seniors that could graduate still have that option of 1-year eligibility that they can play for. I do know one of the seniors is coming back, which is going to be a big boost going into next season. But I mean, we're still a young team to begin with. So, I mean, Sean Dixon, our goalie that came in and stepped in, and, you know, he had big shoes to fill after Gianluca Bagetta graduated. And he stepped in and took that role, and, you know, he's strung together. He had like 219 minutes of shutout hockey going into Elmira game, and, you know, that one goal broke it. That was a record that was set by Adam Decker, and he broke, you know, his own goalie coach's record. So, you know, there's nothing more than you can really ask for is for a team to come back that really is gonna be stronger, and it's gonna be the head of the dragon is going to be placed back on top of that dragon again next year, and we're going to go right back at it.
Absolutely. Stick taps to a great season for our Pioneers.
Absolutely.
So moving on to the Utica Comets report. The Comets haven't played in a couple of weeks due to COVID protocols, but it looks like they will be playing again this Friday at home versus Rochester with 10% capacity at the Adirondack Bank Center. Fans are back. They will then hit the road Saturday for a game in Syracuse, then another one in the Salt City on Wednesday night. They've only played 9 games so far this season, and they have a record of 6-2-0-1. So this was the first dibs went to season ticket holders. Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
They told me they texted us and said that we could go if we've had the vaccine shots or we don't have COVID, this, that, and the other thing. I won't get my second shot to the 23rd of April, so I have to wait till then anyway. And there may be a waiting period after that.
Right.
And then they said $45 for your ticket. And I don't understand that, but they're going to feed us, I guess, if we go.
Well, you got to remember, though, too. I mean, they've been without revenue for how long?
Yeah.
You know?
I believe it's $45 for food and like all you can drink or all you can eat or something like that.
Yeah.
So I mean, they're really doing it. They're doing it right.
Yeah.
You know, obviously you can't fill the building, but, you know, like you said, the revenue, you know, they've been hurting. So, you know, why not give it a boost where, you know, you make a night out of it? And
Right. Absolutely. And you didn't offer me your spot either. So,
Well, I don't even have my tickets.
I'm only kidding with you.
I don't have my tickets.
I know you're still upset about breakaway trivia. Calm down.
No, they haven't set the tickets because we rolled them over to next year.
Right.
So, because we don't want to lose our spots, we
Yeah.
like our seats. So we'll just wait till next year anyway.
Yeah.
We might be able to catch a game this year yet.
You know, it's not over just yet as far as that goes. So, and hopefully they'll make the playoffs. I mean, they got a good record. They just haven't played that many games compared to everybody else. So,
right.
obviously, with the AHL using the percentage or the points percentage to get in the playoffs, kind of looks good for them. So, I don't want to jinx them now. So,
Right.
we'll just stop talking about that right now before I get blamed for them not making the playoffs.
Back a few shows ago when you were talking about the percentage thing, I always thought it was nuts too. But now,
Yeah, well, now it works out.
we've only got 9 games. It might work for us. So
Yeah. But we'll see how rusty they are after being off for 2 weeks, too.
well, but that's life. You got it. That's up to the coaching to get them squared
Right.
away.
All right. Well, hey, listen.
I hope that they just don't get hit like Vancouver did.
I'm just going to say that because
I mean,
we're
they're
getting off
getting-
in Vancouver.
I mean, they're getting out. I think it's up to 25
25
players,
players.
coaches, and staff. I mean, that's just.
And some of them are really sick.
Oh yeah, some of them are. It spread to their families. I mean, some of them are like, you know, they're getting the full on effect of what's going on.
I'm sure
So,
that.
Well, they're saying it's
It's,
a variant that hit them.
Yes, they
Some
are
kind of
saying,
variant,
They are saying
so-
a variant that's hit them too. Yeah.
Yeah, I really wonder when, the players are going to be getting the vaccine. I got to imagine the players are going to be starting getting them soon because they're pretty much opening it up to everybody.
Right. Yeah. And I, you
Yeah.
know, I was. It's funny because I was, you know, I follow hockey a lot, and you know, listening to the Vancouver situation, and then watching the NCAA tournament come in. You know, UMass has now just lost 4 players for their Thursday Frozen Four game.
Jeez.
And I kind of got mad because I'm a Michigan fan, so I root for Michigan hockey. Now, their semifinal game to go to the Frozen Four was canceled due to COVID protocols. But UMass has set 4 players, but UMass is still able to play. So I don't know how they're working it or how it was said or done. But, you know, I just hope that everybody's safe and healthy.
Yeah,
I just
absolutely.
hope that players
Absolutely.
get to play.
Absolutely. That's the most important thing. No doubt about it. So I'll tell you what, guys, let's get on to some better news. How's that sound? And Dave the Save, this one will make you really happy. Don't look now, but the Buffalo Sabres are on a 5-game point streak.
Yes.
And now they're going to go back into the dumps.
They're back.
The shirt has value.
Yeah.
You know, you're going to be their mascot next season.
Yeah, that'd be it.
Oh,
He's got the right name for it, Dave to Save.
I can just see a Dave the Tiger out there. It'd be awesome.
Yeah, no. I'd be throwing more than octopus out there.
Oh, I don't want to go there.
five game point streak or whatever they got going on is, I don't know how long it's going to last once this trade deadline hits, because who knows who's leaving.
Well, we're going to talk about that in just a minute, but but you know what though, good for them. I mean, at least something positive finally happened to them.
It's for the fans.
After all
Give
the
the fans something.
well, hey, I mean, they took enough of a beating. I mean, I think they deserve to have something good happen anyhow. And another bit of good news: Henrik Lundqvist could possibly return this season, believe it or not. He's skating, he's working out, and he gave an interview saying that he has not ruled out coming back this season.
Good for him.
So absolutely. I mean,
He'll probably come back just in time when the Rangers get into the playoff push and make that 4th spot, and then we'll play the Capitals and we'll get shut out. So, I mean,
I can't see the street. Who's doing the talking?
I mean, that's how it happens when we trade away our players. They just come back bigger and better. So it's why not? Why wouldn't that happen?
That's true. As much as I agree with that, it's true.
Yeah, well, Tampa Bay is our farm team in the pros. So I mean, look what they did.
What was that movie, Poltergeist? I'm back.
Yeah.
So the NHL trade deadline looms. It's Monday, April 12th. And it kind of looks like there's more and more teams starting to fade down the stretch. So I kind of got to start expecting the activity to pick up pretty soon. So according to the fourthperiod.com, see, I left out the www part. Aren't you proud of me?
You are getting better by the minute.
Hey. Anyways, Taylor Hall, Kyle Palmieri, Matthias Ekholm, Michael Granlund, and David Savard. So 2 wingers, 3 defensemen are the top 5 that are available according to them. Now, Keith, I know you want to talk about this because I want to too. Who do you think the Islanders are going to go after? Because they're one of the hot topic teams. It's never Boston.
Well, you know how Lou Lamoriello is. I mean, you think that probably the best choice is Taylor Hall if you match him up with Barzell. Like the thinking in Buffalo was to match him up with Eichel, but that didn't work out. But not much is working out for the Sabres right now. But I was actually watching a Sabres show today. I never knew that they had an afternoon game show. Rob Ray hosted and a few others.
Oh, the Instigators?
Yes.
Yeah.
I never knew that. You knew that is, I didn't know that existed.
Yeah, Rob Ray and Craig Rivette.
Yes. And it was really good.
It is.
They were talking about other young players that are plugging in and everything. Well, anyway, I didn't realize that Taylor Hall is sitting now.
Yeah.
So is Kyle Palmieri?
Yep, Kyle Palmieri scratched too because they don't want to see, when teams are pretty sure they're going to trade somebody at the trade deadline, they tend to sit them right before because you don't want that freak injury, right? So you could have a deal all lined up to get a first-round draft pick or something like that, and then this weird injury happens, and it's like, oh, sorry, deal's off, Yep. I got to tell you, I'm not going to say surprised, but they were talking in Buffalo for a while that they really wanted Taylor Hall to stay, and I guess he was actually indicating that he would stay, but it kind of looks like that marriage was short-term. I don't think they gave him and Eichel together enough of a chance. I really don't.
No.
Well, is that it? Do they not get along?
No. What happened was
cancers, or are they just the solution that's just not working out?
I don't think so because they were clicking pretty good, and then their then coach Ralph Kruger, like 12 games into the season, splits them up because he wanted to spread the offense out more.
Well, did Skinner play with Eichel?
What's that?
Did Skinner ever play with Eichel?
Yeah.
When he blew up for like 40 goals to get his huge contract.
And then what happened to him? So
he got
paid.
He got paid and he scored his one and only goal. Well, he finally broke the snap against the Rangers.
Exactly. So
I mean, you don't know.
Right. So the question about Hall is, wherever he goes, is the team that's going to get him strictly renting him, or are they going to look if they give up a number 1 pick to have him signed an extension?
I think there's going to be some behind the scenes talk about that.
You're gonna have to give him incentives.
Yeah, because you see that a lot, right? It happened with Vegas and Mark Stone.
Yes.
Remember, there was all the talk, but Stone was going to be a free agent. But then Vegas wouldn't pull the trigger on the deal until they knew they could get him locked up to that extension, which they signed him to like 2 days later. You know,
Right, and that makes sense.
well, sure it does. Absolutely. If you're going to give up that kind of assets to get a player, why wouldn't you want to try to keep him long term?
Right.
You know, like I'm sure, like with your Islanders, I'm sure Lamoriello was talking to Pajot about,
Right.
you know, staying is when he was trying to make the deal, you know?
So I was trying to figure out to answer your question about Hall. I can't remember. Did he enjoy playing in New Jersey? And I asked that because did he like the metropolitan area? That's what I'm getting at. So would he be interested himself in the Islanders?
I think Taylor Hall wants a cup.
Yeah.
I mean,
You know?
yeah, I mean, you can't say that. Like, I think all players want the cup, but I think, you know, Hall being who he is, knowing his capability, I think he's going to be going to a team. He wants to go to a team that's a cup contender.
Right. Absolutely. And, you know, he's starting to get to the twilight of his career, too. He's going to be, 28 or 29, which isn't old. Don't get me wrong.
No, not by any means.
But
not by any means.
He's been on losing teams for so long that,
Well, he's the frustration's kicking in.
Sure.
Obviously. Right. And he's got to, you know, he saw a young team at Buffalo. You had Darlene come in, Eichel come in. You know, you still had Skinner. That was a solid goal scorer.
Victor Olofsson's awesome.
Olofsson, yeah. I mean, so he didn't go to a bad team. I think just all of a sudden they may have just got hit by a spell. I mean, every team goes through it.
Right. Yeah. You know, and like with Buffalo, we've said it 1,000 times. This is just one of those seasons where everything that could have gone wrong did go wrong. Let's put it that way.
Absolutely. And that's just it.
But I think between Hall and Palmieri, and possibly even Nick Foligno from Columbus, one or the other, the Islanders and Boston are going to get one or the other. Because not for nothing, Boston desperately needs to get somebody else besides the perfection line in there that can score. And I'm not trying to take anything away from the Boston Bruins because they're a great team. But where would that team be without the perfection line? Have you ever looked at their box scores?
They wouldn't be anywhere. They wouldn't be anywhere.
Their scoring comes from 3 players, and that's it.
That's it. And they're all on the same line.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why they're called the perfection line.
Right, exactly. But, I mean, if you shut that line down, you have shut the Boston Bruins down.
Right.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not trying to take shots at them, but, you know, you got to get somebody else in there.
But, well, look at their game style, too. They know that they can score. And then look at the rest of their roster. They're just going to beat you into the ground.
Right. Well, yeah, they're going to grind it right down.
They're going to have to just say, all right, fine. We're up by 3. We're up by 1. Now get the puck by me. And we'll just board you. We'll check you. We'll chip you. We'll do everything we can just to get the puck away from you.
Right. Well, now they're also talking about them needing a goalie because they don't know how long Rask is going to be out, I guess.
I think he's just becoming more of a problem than anything else between what he did.
I agree with that.
What he did, I mean, who leaves a team? I get it. It's a family thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, it wasn't an emergency, so sad. But
yeah,
why would you leave at that point where you had a legitimate chance to go
right.
away?
I mean, it's tough when you got family involved. I get that, but
right. But
yeah,
I mean,
the problem that they're finding out too is that apparently Jarl Halak is not the all-world backup that they thought he was.
No.
What was that story in Cinderella there where the chariots turned back into the pumpkin? Is that?
Yeah, right.
But I mean, you look at Rask, and I think he's just, I mean, we all understand hockey. We all know that goalies are a completely different breed, and I think he's getting into that element where he's in his own head. He's himself. He doesn't want to deal with anything else. If it's a wrong decision, he'll just say no. Oh, right. No, I mean, I'm actually shocked that he's traveled with the team this year, and made every single every away game, just rather than saying, "Hey, no, I don't feel like going today."
Right, and this is the last year of his contract, so he may very well just retire at the end of the year too.
Yeah, and go back over to Europe. I mean, why not?
Exactly. So why, or he doesn't. I'm sure he doesn't need the money to play again.
No, absolutely not. Why would he? He's won. Well, how many cups has he won? 1, 2.
He's got one.
Does he have one?
Yes. Yeah,
so,
he was the backup in 11, I think, to Tim Thomas.
And I don't think what. Like I said, he's got 1 cup. If he was a cup hungry guy, would you leave your team last season?
Yeah. Yeah. It's a tough call. It really is. It's tough. But I will say this, as exciting as the trade deadline is, you ever notice that it's never those teams that make the big splashes that do anything?
Yeah.
It's always the team that makes that under the radar trade that ends
Yeah.
up, and the team that makes the huge splashes out a bunch of draft picks, prospects, whatever,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's funny. Like I was watching highlights the other night, and I think the Eric Stahl trade right now is the big splash in hockey. He goes back up to Montreal, going back up to his homeland, and he goes in and he scores a goal, and it's
In
like
overtime.
in overtime, and it rejuvenated the guy. I mean, the Stahls are old, so I mean they're
Right.
not they're not spring chickens anymore. They're getting up there. They gotta. I mean, but obviously Mark's defense, and you got Eric that plays up, but it's just great to see that he still got it and he still wants to play with that much hunger, and how much of a splash that really made in the NHL of like, wow, even though he's going to probably become a journeyman now, but he's back in Canada. So why would they get rid of him?
Right.
See, that's what I miss. I miss the big splash of the trade deadline. Remember,
Yeah.
like in the '90s, Florida got Pavel Bure.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Oh
You know,
yeah.
that was a splash. Say what you
That was
want.
huge.
Yeah.
The Islanders got Yashin. Now, at the moment, that was a very good trade. At that year, that time, he was in his prime. You don't see that, and I don't know if you don't see it because of the times and economics, or the player just isn't there. Like, is there a top 5 player on a bad team? I don't think so.
I don't
Well,
think
There's
I don't
that.
think
There's
so.
the cap. There's now this season especially. You have to have a 7-day quarantine period if you get traded to Canada.
right.
I
Is
just
that also from Canada?
what's that?
Is that also from Canada or no?
I think that depends on what state they go to.
Okay.
Of course, it's always different for the
Think-
U.S.
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. So wait a minute. So if you're a Canadian player and you want to play right away, and you're on the block, well, you can say like, well, I want to go to that city because I can play right now.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah,
wait a minute.
exactly, right?
Anyway, and there's your bargaining chip right there. Well, you know what? I know this team's interested in you, but you come to us, you can play right now.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely. Well, it'll be interesting, but I'm just going to go out on a limb here and say that I don't think it's going to be as exciting as everybody thinks it's going to be.
I don't think it will. I mean,
Even though there's teams that are fading, I still think there's a lot of teams that are still in it because of the new playoff format, and I don't think that there's going to be that many sellers out there.
So
I think it will be fun to see. I mean, yeah, Hall, but I still think it'd be fun to see if Eichel actually leaves.
there's a suggestion.
I mean,
Well, you saw what the package they want, right?
Yeah, I did, but
And you
I mean,
realize
there's
there's only
only-
2 teams that can do that kind of package.
I know.
Who?
LA and New York, the Rangers.
Rangers.
And LA doesn't have all that
And-
much interest in Eichel.
I think if the Rangers really want him, we're going to end up losing at least Buchnevich.
Well,
I
they
don't
were
wanna-
talking. They were talking in a scenario where it would be one of Lafreniere or Capo, 2 first-round picks, and then there was another mid-level prospect.
Yeah, see, I can see Capo going. As bad as I don't want to say it, they won't get rid of Laf. They will not get rid of Lafreniere. They put way too much, investment into him. And not only that, he's a producer. Capo is he's starting to get his stride, but who knows?
Yeah, but you know what though? What would you rather have, a franchise center or a franchise winger?
Well, and
For the Rangers, we haven't had
For
a
any
center
team.
in years.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
well, and a franchise center who's only 24.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
It's not like
You're
he's,
talking 29.
Yeah.
Right.
he's right in his prime.
Right.
Right.
Well, it'll be interesting to see. Hey, listen, Jeremy, maybe JD will listen to the show and take our advice. What do you think?
Well, if he's going to listen to the show, I mean, I wouldn't want Eichel at all. I just want, maybe a scrapper to protect some of our players because we don't have one anymore.
Oh, yeah, we took yours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we have, Kevin Rooney likes to scrap it up. I mean, he gets in there and grinds a little bit. But we don't really have the one that will literally go up and just punch you in the face for no reason.
Right. And you still got to have that, especially going into the playoffs.
Oh yeah, you have to. I mean,
Still
I know
gotta
the game
have
has
that.
changed. I mean, I was listening to an interview, I think 2 days ago with Brian McGrattan, and he was actually saying he's actually on the side of getting rid of fighting, from juniors down, so they actually don't go into the NHL knowing, or if you do.
Well, the
fight
only
in
problem with that is,
juniors-
though, how are you going to be prepared for it when you get to the AHL and the NHL?
well, they're saying not get rid of it, but they're saying like if once you turn pro, you get your penalty, but you also get a game and a 10-minute misconduct. So it teaches you really not to just go out there and, bang
Right.
all the time. Which, I mean, yeah, the game's changed, so you really don't see like the McGrattans of the world anymore.
Right.
But if you learn it, people are gonna get speared every game. People are gonna get checked every game. It's hockey. But to keep the safety mentality of it, and that's what McGrattan was saying. Like he knows guys now that are, they're just popping pills just to get out of bed.
Right.
And I mean, it's sad to say,
That's
but
sad.
they got to get rid of that.
The only trouble is
in a
you
way.
take fighting out, you're going to see an increase in cheap shots.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, at least the trade deadline will be interesting anyway.
How about Sam Reinhart? Right? How do you say it? Reinhart?
I am Reinhardt. I
Yeah.
don't think he's going anywhere. I don't think he's going. He's going to be. He's still got restricted free agent years left. I don't think he's going anywhere. He's controllable for them.
And when you say only the Rangers and Kings for Eichel, is that because of assets or
Assets and cap space.
And cap space.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, but I don't think that's certainly not a trade deadline deal. That's an off-season kind of thing if it happens.
You
Yeah.
don't see that now. Okay.
Right.
But it would be, I mean, like I said, that would be the splash. Because, I mean, everyone's like, Eichel wants out. And all of a sudden now it's hush hush. Like, I haven't heard anything about Eichel.
No, nothing.
Well,
So,
I think
I'm wondering if he's still out there, like, and just nobody knows what's going on with him.
or maybe he's waiting to see who their next coach is going to be.
Well, there could be that too.
Yeah. But anyways, so we're going to end this segment like we always do with Website of the Week. Website of the Week is brought to you by 315hockey.com. 315hockey.com is your news hub for all levels of hockey in Central New York. This week's Website of the Week is originalhockeyhalloffame.com. Now, this is the one in Kingston, Ontario. So there's two, right? There's the major one that everybody knows is in Toronto. And then there's the one in Kingston, which was actually there first. And you know that they have the original square puck?
Really?
Yeah. Like when the game was invented, they used a square puck. Pretty cool.
That's cool.
I was looking through their exhibits online. I'm like, oh, this is pretty neat. I think I'll throw this out there this week.
That's cool.
So they're not open, of course, but if you get a chance, go to that website and check out their exhibits. So speaking of exhibits, when we get back, we're going to take a ride on the Zamboni Time Machine once again. But first, we got to put a commercial break in. So we'll be right back after the break.
Need to find that gift for someone special? Visit Little Falls Presents at the Stone Mill and Canal Place. Stop by today to find unique artist work, t-shirts, coffee cups, gift towels, greeting cards, tote bags, koozies, and original oil paintings and prints. It's all about the art of the gift. For more information, visit mylittlefalls.com/shop or call 315-508-5310 for details.
And we're back for the final segment of Marty's Illegal Stick. And of course, it's time for the Zamboni Time Machine. The Zamboni Time Machine is brought to you by Zamboni.com, and the Zamboni name is used with permission. This week, the Zamboni Time Machine takes us back to 1970 when Charlie Finley bought the California Golden Seals. At the time of the purchase, Finley was the flamboyant owner of the equally flamboyant Oakland A's baseball team. The Seals had come into the NHL in 1967 and were already struggling as a franchise. So it was hoped that Finley would bring his outrageous marketing ideas from his other ventures to hockey and in the process turn the team around. One of the first things Finley did as owner of the Oakland A's was to change the team's colors to green and gold. So, of course, that was also the first thing he did as the new owner of the Seals as well. Another thing he did with his baseball team was to make his players wear white cleats. So it made sense to Finley to have his hockey players wear white skates as well.
Oh, no.
But you can see where this is going.
Yeah.
Finley's lack of hockey background was obvious, and the players refused to wear them. Undaunted, Charlie showed up unannounced and made his general manager at the time, Bill Torrey. Yes, that Bill Torrey, Keith. Go down to the locker room and make the players wear the white skates. After seeing them in action, Finley decided he didn't like them and instead came up with green, gold, and white skates for the Seals to wear. Believe it or not, this actually struck a chord with traditional powers, the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Detroit Red Wings, who briefly implemented skates in their team colors into their uniforms. Another one of Finley's ideas that didn't pan out so well was to have a live seal for a mascot. This idea lasted one game as the seal was brought out to center ice right before the national anthem was played. It barked and flapped for a minute, but it must have got tired and decided to take a nap right on the center ice faceoff dot. Suffice to say, it took the entire ice crew to drag the sleeping creature off the ice.
Just hook him up to the Zamboni and drag him off.
Yeah.
Got a heck of a workout. Oh, and that, my friends, concludes this week's trip on the Zamboni Time Machine. A short but sweet one. I love the part about the seal. They made it.
Good stuff.
Yeah, the players were not happy about those white skates either.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah, they were not wearing those figure skates, they said.
Yeah.
And poor Bill Torrey was just caught in the middle of all this. He knew they weren't going to want to wear them, but he was like, what am I going to do now? You know? So, but I'd say Bill Torrey made out in the end pretty good. What do you think, Keith?
I think about my favorite Bill Torrey story is when the Islanders were going for their fourth in a row. He put a picture up of Blake Tobe. Who was the famous?
Told Blake.
Oh, Blake. Thank you. And he put a comment to the players, let's put Radar in this picture. And Radar was what he called Al Arbor because he looked like Radar on MASH. So there's this picture of Toe Blake holding his fourth Stanley Cup, but I think they won like 4 in 5 years. It was like 1 a year off, 3 in them or whatever. Right. And then that was their motivational. He had a way of motivating people. So,
geez, and too bad that wasn't a breakaway trivia question.
Yeah, there you go.
It would have been perfect.
California. How in the world did Charlie Finley win 3 straight World Series? To this day, I can't figure that out.
It was the white cleats.
Yeah.
White cleats.
Ricky Henderson.
You know, actually, he was part of the group that drafted him. He had actually, Charlie Finley had a tremendous baseball eye. It was just hockey.
Yeah.
Hockey was not his strong suit. Let's put it that way.
No. Yeah.
Oh.
Anyway.
Well, gentlemen, I think that's about all the time we got for tonight. I want to thank you guys. Yeah, absolutely. I want to thank you guys for coming on. And I also want to thank Gil Martin for coming on to talk about his book, Ice Wars, The Complete Story of New York's Greatest Modern Sports Rivalry. If you see it on Amazon or BarnesandNoble.com, please take a look at it. All right. So for Leo Kinville, for Dave the Save Warner, for Keith Labatino, and for Jeremy Roberts, I'm Scott Kinville. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.